I'm all for the free for all, boxing on free television. I really understand, or I feel I understand what they're trying to do as far as, if you look at this year, we've been getting more boxing than we've ever gotten God knows how long. For example, if you look at HBO Boxing and Top Rank and Showtime, the networks that we pay for, they've been kind of struggling in giving us boxing content monthly, but PBC has been giving us boxing every 2 weeks or so. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live with RealCombatMedia.com. And I'm thinking, is this the fall lineup that PBC has in store for us, or how Haymon has in store for us? And are fans satisfied with Adonis Stevenson versus Tommy Karpency, Errol Spence versus Keith Van Herden, Chris Van Herden, Broner versus Alak Verdiev, even though that's on Showtime. I'm wondering who Keith Thurman is going to be fighting. I'm wondering who Sean Porter is going to be fighting. We're hearing that Erislandy Lara is going to be fighting down in Miami, but against who? So those are the questions that I'm wondering. Like, is this the plan of PBC, like, for the first year to get their fighters active, to get their fighters paid, and then the next year, 2016, are they going to turn it up as far as start putting on, A-side versus A-side fights? I've been hearing small rumors of that's what the plan is, just to, tread water now, but starting next year to be really aggressive in making more competitive fights. But how do we know when it's been, or how can we really believe that when fans have been seeing since Showtime, before PBC, basically now 2 years of fighters just fighting lesser competition? You'll see A-side versus a J-side, and then you'll see a B-side versus a Q-side. You rarely see B-side versus B-side, or, A-side versus A-side. I know you're probably saying, what's B-side versus B-side? But for example, I'm thinking Adrien Broner is kind of on that B-side level right now. I mean, we know from my understanding that they're top tier PBC fighters or Al Haymon fighters, and there's the lower tier Al Haymon fighters. For example, a guy like Antonio DeMarco, in my opinion, is a lower tier Al Haymon guy. A guy like a Luis Collazo is a lower tier Al Haymon guy. A guy like a Jose Zito Lopez is a lower tier Al Haymon guy. For example, can you picture, and I can picture it, I can almost see it, in Errol Spence versus a Jose Zito Lopez one day? I can almost see it. Or how about this? How about in Anthony or Andre Durrell versus a Saki Obika? You see what I'm saying? Or Robert Guerrero versus, well, we already saw Robert Guerrero versus Aaron Martinez. Robert Guerrero in a comeback fight since he didn't look good against a Danny Garcia versus Robert Guerrero. Now that's an intriguing fight, but I guess what I'm getting to is there's a trend that you can follow with the matchmaking, and I'm thinking, how long are they going to keep doing this, and how long are fans going to keep, I've noticed that the ratings have been, dropping, and I'm thinking before the ratings were doing well above what they would do if they was on Showtime. But remember, Showtime is cable television, is something that you pay for. So if you're getting 800,000 to 1 million views on in ratings on million households on Showtime, and you're getting 1 million on NBC, it's really not the same, because you would think it would be more on, or should be more on national television. I'm really trying to figure out, like, what is the goal of PBC? Do they want to have the channel surfers, or what the term, from what I understand, is called, this is a term that was used years ago of people who are flicking through channels trying to find something on, and they say, oh, what? Premier Boxing Champions? And think about the name. Think about how psychologically the name, you're scrolling, you never watched boxing a day in your life, and you're scrolling and it says Premier, oh, Boxing Champions, oh, And then, you know, you go to turn to it, and you're seeing Danny Garcia whoop on Paulie Malignaggi. We may know who Danny Garcia and Paulie Malignaggi is. We may know that Danny Garcia could have been fighting better opposition. But to that brand new boxing fan, that one who's not a boxing fan yet, he's seeing Danny Garcia whooping on Paulie Malignaggi. He's like, oh, this is intense. Oh, who's that guy? I want to know who that guy is. You got a new Danny Garcia fan. You get what I'm saying? So I'm trying to figure out, like, is that who they're appealing to, but yet trying to appease us secondly as far as the boxing fan, the hardcore boxing fan, you know, or are they really going after the casuals? Because that's what it seems like when you see fights like Anthony Durrell versus Marco Antonio Rubio. We know what happened to Rubio in his last fight. When you see Stevenson versus Carpinci, which, like, yo, we know that Carpinci beat up an injured Chad Dawson. And it's like Adonis Stevenson is the 175-pound champion of the world. We know there's other fighters that he can fight, but to those channel surfers who 1 week they were watching MMA on Spike TV, then the next week they're watching boxing, and they're thinking like, oh, it's no MMA, it's boxing. Oh, who is this black Haitian dude beating up on this little white dude with these big fists? Steve Carpinci fists look like hams. Like, I'm dead serious. You got to see fucking dude knuckles. But listen, it's getting to a point where it's like, I see where PBC is going. I see what they're trying to do. But at the same time, it's like, how long do we, the boxing fans, have to put, like the hardcore ones, you know, that have to put up with this? Because remember, a guy like me, with what I do as a profession, I got to watch and cover all of these fights. You know, no matter what, no matter if I'm feeling good, no matter, you know, if I got other shit to do, you know, I got to cover all of these fights. So me knowing who all these boxers are, knowing who the Carpincis are, knowing who the Chris Van Herdens are, knowing who the Rubios are, knowing who the Duhapases are, you know, it's like, you know, for example, Deontay Wilder versus, forgot his first name, Duhapas. It's like, who? Am I even pronouncing his name right? You get me? You know, and then the last fight I saw of his, it wasn't even in English. So I don't know. So it's stuff like that where I think PBC must have a plan, right? They must have a plan. This can't just be a situation where it's just like, well, we're just going to keep putting on these fights like this, and then eventually something's going to happen. Because what I'm seeing, ratings are not doing good. You know, Adrien Broner versus Sean Porter, I thought personally that would do around 5 million households. It didn't. These fighters are getting paid $1 million a fight. You know, Deontay Wilder, Danny Garcia. You know, basically the purses for these PBC cards be between like 2 to 2.5 million for what I'm seeing. So it's like these fighters are making money. It's a tough thing to call, but we'll just have to see. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live of RealCombatMedia.com, and I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.